Hi, everybody. This is Skip Elsummer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16 millimeter films, and that was a German stop motion animation retelling of Little Thorn Rose, which is kind of Sleeping Beauty. Something I noticed, I'll show you. So this is a tour of the archive. And this is what it looked like earlier this year, but now this whole area there's no films in the back, there's no racks in the back, there's no walls in the back. This whole area has been pulled out. The bathroom is gone, the laundry hampers, that row of cables is gone, everything is gone. The reason being is that we're doing renovation work. We're working on the basement to make that climate controlled and water controlled, and that will be a film vault. And then upstairs will be either offices or an apartment. We haven't figured that out yet. So all the films are off-site, and I'm off-site. I'm actually in my basement of my house where the streaming show kind of got started. This is where I spent COVID doing shows. So welcome back. Anyhow, we watch old 16 millimeter films. That's what we do. We don't talk about where AV Geeks are and if there's shelves in the AV Geeks space or any of that. We talk about 16 millimeter films. So let's watch this one. How to Read Plays. Enjoy.
Yes? Yes? I'll be waiting for you. He's coming home. My boy is coming home.
On television, in the movies, perhaps on the stage, you've enjoyed many plays that were presented to you. But have you learned to enjoy reading plays, presenting them to yourself? People who have learned to do this say they have a world of new experiences open to them. For much great literature, from the Greeks, through Shakespeare, up to modern times, is written in play form. Some plays are long, some are short, but no matter what the play, the skills of play reading are much the same. Just what is a play? Let's look at one. We see speeches and the names of the people speaking. Words set apart in italics or parentheses tell what the actors do. These are called stage directions. From these clues, you must see the play on the stage, in your own mind. A play, try it. Think of a scene.
Who's there?
That is a scene. Now, how would such a scene be written? Enter Holden. He goes to desk and starts looking through papers. Door is heard closing off stage. Holden, involuntarily, who's there? Exit Holden. From such words, you create in your mind the complete scene. That is play reading. Now let's study this job more closely. Let's begin the reading of a play, a famous comedy, She Stoops to Conquer, or The Mistakes of a Knight, a comedy by Oliver Goldsmith, first printed in 1773. 1773. The times, before the Revolutionary War. The place, in England, an English country house. Now let's begin to present the play to ourselves. Act 1, Scene 1. Imagine the stage on which the play is to be given. Scene, a chamber in an old-fashioned house. Since the author doesn't give us a full scene description, we can only imagine our setting in a vague way. In later reading, we may have to change this picture, perhaps add to it. Now we read. Long year. Old time. Old manners. Old books. Old wife. They are undoubtedly a fairly old couple. Perhaps you'll be reminded of people you've known.
After all, going out to eat isn't so much. We ought to do it more often.
We go out as often as we can afford.
Well, we don't go out as often as our neighbors. You earn just as much money as they do. You ought to hear what I hear on the phone every day. Going out to eat here, going out to eat there.
You've seen such couples. Now let's imagine them as characters in our play, costumed in the dress of the times. Of course, later, we may need to revise our ideas of these characters. But for now, we have two essentials of our play, a setting and characters. What about the dialogue? We can read it hurriedly. Take the first speech. I vow, Mr. Hardcastle, you're very particular. Is there a creature in the whole country but ourselves that... Yes, we can read that way. But if we do, our play doesn't come to life. We miss the fun. Let's try again, imagining the way the lines would be read by our Mrs. Hardcastle.
I vow, Mr. Hardcastle, you're very particular.
That's better, isn't it? To understand the play, to enjoy it, we usually must imagine the dialogue as actually heard. Now let's begin our play again, imagining the opening in full. Act 1. Scene, a chamber in an old-fashioned house. Enter Mrs. Hardcastle and Mr. Hardcastle.
I vow, Mr. Hardcastle, you're very particular. Is there a creature in this whole country who doesn't take a trip to town now and then to rub off the dust a little? Now there's the two Miss Hoggs and our neighbor, Mrs. Grisby, take a month's polishing every winter.
Aye, and bring back vanity and affectation enough to last them the whole year.
Notice the movements of the characters in relation to each other.
In my time, the follies of the town crept slowly among us. Now they travel faster than a stagecoach. Its fopperies come down not only as inside passengers, but in the very basket.
Notice, too, how the gestures add meaning to the words.
You've been telling us about them these many long years. And here we live in this rumbling old mansion, which looks for all the world like an inn. But we never have any visitors. Our best visitor is old Mrs. Oddfish, the curate's wife, and Gripplegate, the lame dancing master. And for our entertainment, you are forever telling us old stories about Prince Eugene.
And so we have begun our play, presenting it to ourselves through reading.
And I love it.
From the dialogue and stage directions alone, we have created a play through imagination. We imagined a stage setting and characters and dialogue actually heard. Thus, we produced plays on our imaginary stage.
I'm not as old as you make me, not by more than one good year. Add 20 to 20 and see what money you can make on that.
Let me see. 20 added to 20 makes just 50 and 7.
Oh, 'tis false. You know I was but 20.
A play to enjoy in your own mind. That is what play reading is. There are many aids you can use to make play reading easier and more fun. One is remembering other scenes you have seen and other people you have known that help you imagine the play more vividly. Another aid, and a very important one, is to act out the play as you read it. First, imagine the stage where it will be played. When you use your imagination, the room you are in can assume the essential characteristics of the stage setting. Now, read the first lines of the play, putting yourself in the place of the character speaking. When you come to the next character, change and read in that character's manner. These are aids that help you create in your mind's eye the glimpse of life that is the play, the object of your reading. Try it. Learn to read plays. For if you do, you have a whole world of enjoyment at hand in the great plays in our literature.
Oh, that was cut short. I was expecting that whole play out to be during the end coronet crown scene. Yeah, so let's look at a play made in the 1700s that is in public domain and we don't have to license. Yeah, so there's a whole series of that appreciating literature. It talks about how to read a poem, how to read a newspaper, how to read a novel, etc. And there was a mention of speaking fast. This film, I believe it's a jam handy, I could be wrong, is about speeding speech. What do you think that means? Let's watch and find out. Enjoy.
Long distance.
Operator, I'm calling Chicago. Dearborn 2, 4682. My number is Main 6, 9913.
Thank you.
Johnson speaking.
Hello, Bob. Bob, this is Ray Miller. Look, Bob, on that Donaldson order. They've got the specifications all wrong.
It's really amazing how fast that call went through. Mr. Miller had a lot on his mind, so perhaps he didn't notice it. But some people have noticed that their calls are being completed more quickly than ever these days. One reason for it is operator toll dialing, a new method of speeding speech now being introduced in city after city throughout the Bell system. Such operator dialing can be done with the familiar telephone dial or, as in this office, with a key set, which is faster. These operators are using equipment which improves the service and reduces the time in which the average long-distance call goes through. Let's watch how the operator handled Mr. Miller's call.
Long distance.
Operator, I'm calling Chicago. Dearborn 2, 4682. My number is Main 6, 9913.
Thank you.
After writing down the two numbers on a ticket record, looking up the route to Chicago, and plugging into a trunk or pathway to the equipment, the operator depresses the proper keys to advance the call. Each key gives part of the information needed. From there on, the new equipment takes over and promptly promptly advances the call right through to ringing the distant telephone directly. That's all there is to it. When her signal light shows that the call party is answered, the operator stamps the time on the ticket. For a comparison, let's suppose that you're making a toll call between two cities with no direct lines connecting them, and the call is handled by one of the methods used before operator toll dialing. You reach the long-distance operator in City A and give her the number of the call party. She probably calls in another operator in your own city and asks to be connected with City X, an intermediate point. When the girl there answers, your operator asks for a connection through to City B. But suppose this is the unusual case when all the lines to B are busy. Your operator then has to start all over again. She asks the other operator in your city for City Y, an alternate routing. When this connection is made, the girl in City Y puts the call through to City B. The operator in City B connects through to the number you called, rings it, and your party answers. Service by such methods has been developed to a high degree of efficiency, but operator toll dialing will make it even better. Now, if this call is handled by the new method, you begin the same way by reaching your long-distance operator and telling her the number you want. She brings in the automatic switching equipment serving your city and gives it the information by dialing or using her key set. Without further help, the new equipment selects a clear path to City X, discovers that no lines are available from X to B, goes right on to City Y, finds an available line to City B, and rings the telephone of the call party. Once the operator presses the proper keys, it happens, just like that, in less time than it takes to tell about it. Let's look at some of the ingenious devices which provide this improved service. These intricate switches are one of the types actually used to connect long-distance calls. This key set in the test equipment is just like the ones the operators use. It is hooked up to a loudspeaker so we can hear what goes on behind the scenes. Each key has a combination of tones or notes of its own. When the operator plugs into a trunk, she is connected to a sender, such as this. By pressing her keys, she puts the tones into the sender. For example, on Mr. Miller's call to Chicago, the first 3 tones are the code for Chicago. The next 3, the code for the office name, and the last 4 tones, the telephone number. The sender registers the tones and remembers them. Then it calls on another device, the marker. Telephone people call it the brain because of its complex nerve system. The marker picks up the first 3 tones, selects a clear path to the distant city, sets up the connection between that path and the long-distance operator's position, and notifies the sender that everything is ready. Then the sender releases the rest of the information, sending the tones along to tell the equipment in the distant city how to complete the call. Here's a test panel which provides a visible record of all calls going through the equipment. If there is any trouble in handling a call, the marker immediately complains on the trouble indicator panel here. It calls for the doctor, so to speak. At the present time, long-distance offices like the one you've seen can control existing mechanical equipment in many parts of the country. Further installations are now going forward. How does a development like this come about? A broad program of research and development covering all aspects of communication is constantly carried on in the Bell Telephone Laboratories. Over the years, scientists like these developed equipment which would be able, in a measure, to think, to make decisions by itself. They conceived and designed automatic switching and the use of tones for sending signals over long distances used in toll dialing. But new devices must be designed for mass production at low cost. That's why Bell Telephone Laboratories and the Western Electric Company, the manufacturer and supply member of the Bell System team, work hand in hand in designing and building for telephone service. The thousands of special parts needed for operator toll dialing are manufactured and assembled in various Western Electric plants, then put through rigid tests before being shipped. Their experts follow the equipment to the operating centers and carry out the complex job of installation. And just as it takes people to design and build ingenious new devices and to install them, it takes people to run them. More men with greater knowledge and skills are needed to maintain this new system. So, many telephone people are going back to school. And of course, the operators have to be trained in using the new equipment. Today, more and more long-distance calls are being handled by operator toll dialing. And as this service is extended, the day draws nearer when long-distance calls will go through just like local calls. What is the effect of such improvements? As service becomes better, people use it more. And greater use means a steadily growing number of telephone people. Today, for example, there are about twice as many men and women in the Bell system as there were 25 years ago. Operator toll dialing as a method of speeding speech is already an accomplished fact to the scientists of the Bell system, even though it will take a great deal of time and money before all the needed equipment can be built, installed, and put into operation all over the country. What will the outcome of their present research be? How many uses will be found for it? Perhaps these men themselves cannot tell us the details now, but the final aim is clear. Their goal is the goal of all the men and women of the Bell system, the best possible service at the least possible cost. And that means a constantly improved and faster service for all of us.
I couldn't find myself. I'm on my laptop, so there's I just washed my hair, which is why I'm playing with it. So that was not Jam Handy. It had that feel. It had that title, but it was Soundmasters, which I believe was a film bureau for AT&T. I could be wrong about that. Maybe I'll do some research while we watch the next film. What is this next film? Somebody mentioned it. LSD. This film is narrated by LSD. Enjoy.
How much do you think you can score with that?
2 caps. It's
You
good
know,
acid.
Have you tried them?
Yeah, I was up on it. Very good.
Well, here's the 10.
Okay. 3 caps.
Good.
You are looking at a traveler who just bought a ticket for a very special kind of a trip. The cost? A few dollars. And his mind, over which he will very shortly have little or no control. Now, most of his preparations have been made, and he's just about ready to go. He won't have to leave this room if he doesn't want to, but he'll travel so far that he may get lost and never come back. Transportation to the fantastic and frightening territory of inner space, courtesy of the most powerful mind-altering drug ever discovered. Destination unknown, courtesy of LSD-25.
full chemical name is dextrolysergic acid diethylamide tartrate 25. But as everyone knows, I'm called LSD for short, though I'm also called acid, and by some highly unflattering names by those who wish I'd never been discovered. Right now, some 200 micrograms of my substance have just entered his body. And already my potent molecules are on their way to his brain, where they will trigger some very special chemistry. And in just a few minutes now, I will show him glimpses of distorted beauty, or tumble him into a terrifying private hell. But at just this moment, neither he nor I know the direction or destination of the trip we're about to take together.
Round, round, out of your mind. You think you're seeing things, I know you're blind. A million bright colors explode in your head. Today you're just high, tomorrow you're dead. Round, round. Round, round.
Round, round, out of your mind. That's right. And as you might imagine, not all of the people who know about me approve of what I am or what I do. These people, for example, have seen my effects and think I'm a total disaster. But they know, too, that I'm part of the scene and that I can be purchased much more easily than you might think.
Well, I think it's pretty easy because, well, like this one last night, this one dude walked up and he just handed me some, you know? So I just went ahead and took it.
You can be standing on a street corner and somebody will approach you.
It's too easy to get acid. There's too many teeny boppers running around town.
I can get acid by simply calling a friend, and I can get as much or as little as I want within a very short amount of time.
Acid for me is very easy to get. I can get it from anywhere from 4 blocks to 10 blocks from my house in about 20 minutes.
See, what did I tell you? Kids know. Of course, I'm not exactly the exclusive property of young people, but kids know a lot about me. More than most older people, for example.
They're damaged for life. Their brains are wrecked. They go into institutions. They're through for the rest of their life.
I've read some silly things about kids falling out of trees and painting themselves green and yellow, and it's rather stupid to me.
It's no good.
They're taking it in sugar cubes. It's being dropped into their punch.
Well, truthfully, my friend, I know nothing about it. Only what I've read in the paper, what I see on television, and that's about all.
We've got to do something about this, don't you think so? But I don't know. I don't know what these kids today do.
I've become a favorite topic of conversation almost everywhere. And the mere mention of my 3-letter name is enough to send certain writers running to turn out sure-selling articles on how horrible I am. As publishers know, I'm good copy. And since there's so much information and misinformation about me, it's easy to keep the LSD pot boiling. Well, that sort of thing is bad for my image, as the advertising people say. Sensational, surefire in the paperbacks, but so much of it lacks the saving virtue of truth. There hasn't been a case reported yet. But speaking frankly, a lot of my most ardent supporters are bad for my image, too. Like these 3 clowns from Southern California who are planning the beginning of something they call Acid City. So that's the scene. Folks like these who love me and think I belong in everyone's breakfast cereal. And way over in the other direction, the Fright Boys with their sure-sell magazines and comic books. Things being what they are, you really can't blame me for wanting to put the record straight. It is, as they say, time for the facts. High time.
It's hard really to put it in word form. You can't really tell a person what it's like unless you've had the experience for yourself.
It just, well, it's different.
Someone like John Glenn trying to explain what he saw in outer space. I mean, it's a very personal thing. It's not easy to describe.
No, I'm not easy to describe. I'm a complicated thing, And I'm here in complicated times and in complicated places. But now, let me tell you what I really am and what I really do. Chemically, I look like this. Atoms of oxygen linked with carbon, nitrogen, and hydrogen. Much more complicated than some people seem to think. In fact, the slightest change in my chemical structure may result in profound changes in my potency, as certain black market amateur chemists have found out. Actually, I'm not very spectacular to look at. I'm colorless, odorless, and tasteless. In fact, I'm a kind of a nothing. But I'm one of the most powerful nothings that ever came down the chemical road. Just one of my drops can be enough for 500 average doses. I'm so powerful that I exert an effect in doses smaller than such potent drugs as strychnine or cyanide. My discoverer found that out back in 1943 when he accidentally inhaled a microscopic speck of me and then took to his bed with hallucinations. How can I tell you how really powerful I am? The head of a pin can hold enough of me to send a room full of people out of their minds. A dose for one? The point of a pin holds plenty for a solo trip. 20 doses can be put under a stamp. An eyedropper can contain enough for 10,000 doses. I'm measured in millionths of a gram, called micrograms or gammas. So tiny that even the precision laboratory scales like this can't begin to measure me accurately. I can be either liquid or solid, and the black market chemists who make me package me in capsules and tablets of various sizes and shapes, though almost always they add something else to give me bulk and color. One convenient technique is to drop me onto a sugar cube, where I remain until used. This is where I have my effect. In the mind. That's 7 inches of inner space between the root of the nose and the back of the head. It is, on all accounts, man's most prized possession, and in many ways, his most complicated. I'm like a depth charge here among the brain's 12 billion cells. But it's one of my most perplexing secrets that no one really knows yet how I work. Some have suggested that I affect the midbrain, the brain's computer, and prevent it from regulating signals from the eyes and the ears and the other sense organs. But while there's much uncertainty about how I work, there is no uncertainty about what I can do. With just a very few micrograms of me inside the body, colors, shapes, smells, textures, the whole range of things that can be seen, heard, smelled, touched, and tasted, take on incredible distortions which seem absolutely and totally real. With just a few micrograms of me, all sorts of hallucinations are possible.
I couldn't have supposed to be reality, but it wasn't. It wasn't anything except just things that weren't objects.
You know, after a while, you don't know who you are, and you don't know who the other person is. Happening, and it's happening so fast, and you can't stop it, and you just can't do anything. You just have to, just stay there and go through it.
With my help, all kinds of things. The most dangerous act can look attractive and easy to accomplish, because I can make those sparkling lights look colorful and inviting. A moving tapestry which can beckon and lure a traveler to join them. Well, that's just a rough idea of what a few micrograms of me can do. About the same amount that you saw on the point of the pin. Remember? But in spite of my overwhelming power, I have yet to kill anyone from an overdose. They don't think I'm physiologically addicting. And when I'm swallowed, I disappear because they haven't yet perfected a good field test to detect me inside the body. Altogether, I'm one of the most perplexingly powerful drugs conceivable. Your doctor can't prescribe me. Your druggist can't sell me. And very few scientists are able or willing to test me, and the pharmaceutical companies won't make me. And about the only labs I show up in anymore are the crime labs at police headquarters, because I'm so perplexingly powerful that I'm illegal. Federal law controls my manufacture, sale, transportation, and delivery. And in California, where I'm listed in the Dangerous Drug Act, law prohibits my manufacture, transportation, sale, possession, or public use. So very often I wind up here, tagged as evidence along with other illegal drugs like heroin and opium and marijuana and bennies and goofers and yellow jackets and crystal and the rest. But they use the most sensitive tests they have to identify me. This one's called thin layer chromatography, useful because I can be made to fluoresce under ultraviolet light. And my unique chemical fingerprints can be identified on the graph of instruments like the spectrophotometer, which can detect as little as 10 micrograms of me, much less than a pinpoint can hold. But as narcotics officers know so well, I keep showing up, in spite of the laws. Because if you have the right ingredients, I'm not too hard to manufacture. And the black market boys have set up their amateur laboratories in some strategic locations, like this one, served with a warrant and then raided just a while ago. Amateur acid, made in amateur labs by amateur chemists. When I'm compounded in dirty labs like this, it isn't surprising that I'm often contaminated with other substances, and that my quantity is unpredictable. 200 micrograms? Or 2,000. Pure LSD, or mixed up with something else. On the consumer level, that means that when an LSD travel agent sells a cap or two, the customer can't trust the label, because there isn't any label. So how do you know what you're getting?
You don't know unless you take it, whether it's good or it's bad.
You just have to trust your source.
Well, when you take it, you find out.
Good acid, bad acid, but always unpredictable acid. I'm around, part of the scene, as I said. And on streets like this, and this, and this, and this, transactions involving me take place all the time. Illegal, of course, but my tabs and caps and sugar cubes that dissolve in your mind as well as your mouth are selling every day. So drop a cap of me and join the mind-expanding world where colors and sounds and smells and tastes and people all take on new dimensions and new qualities. I'm the world's original instant relief drug. Drop a cap of me, man, and drop out. But watch it, because the trip can be a trap, too. You never know where a ticket with me will take you.
Where are you?
Oh, stop that, man.
Where
stop
are
that.
you, man?
Stop
You're
that
not
freaking
there,
business.
man.
Let me give you an idea, just the barest idea of what a bum trip can be like. Voices courtesy of those who've been there.
Wait a minute. Look, he's going, man.
Help me out of here. Help me out. Dave, that's what this stuff's about. There's no more you, man. God, no! No, no, no! Get me out of this terrible place! Get me out of here! Help me! Oh, God, help me!
Utterly fantastic, utterly terrifying, utterly powerful, and utterly unpredictable. I've even been known to carry a passenger inside the pulsing redness of his own beating heart and leave him there.
Sit up here, Mark.
Oh, most people survive even a really bad trip. And with an injection of one of the most powerful tranquilizers known, they can get safely back to reality.
Relax.
But not all. Not all. Because, you see, it's true that trippers have injured themselves, sometimes seriously. And one of the most terrifying things of all is true, too. A bum trip's hallucinations can recur at any time in all their original intensity, up to a year after the original dose. Some call it an after-flash, and it's not fun at all. Once I've been swallowed, it's practically impossible to trace me inside the body. So not even the coroner knows how to tell whether or not I was part of this scene, twisting the driver's brain cells until he tripped out through the windshield.
LSD Rescue.
And it's true that the effects and after effects of bad trips can be so severe that special organizations like San Francisco's LSD Rescue have been set up. And crisis counselors work in shifts 24 hours a day to calm and guide those who panicked and freaked out.
If I don't know what to do with myself, so How much did you take? How much LSD did you take? 300 micrograms. One whole cap? Or one of those pills, you know.
It happens all the time. This guy knows. He called LSD Rescue 24 hours ago, and he's just about got himself under control now.
Did that serve to frighten you even more?
Yeah, because I felt like somehow I was being twisted out of shape, and that I was somehow not a human being.
Did you have the thought you might not be able to change backwards again?
Yeah, this is one of the main things that scared me, is permanently make me some sort of freak.
And it happens with increasing frequency that those who trip with me find their way here to neuropsychiatric centers, like this one at San Francisco's Macaulay Institute of St. Mary's Hospital.
And then one of the nurses here.
It's freezing.
Susie, you'll be staying with us for a little while here. He'll be your doctor while you're at the hospital.
No!
Until you're feeling
No!
it.
No!
All right. Now, Susie, now,
Come on.
take it easy. You'll be all right.
Thank you.
And it takes a while, sometimes a considerable while, and the skillful attention of psychiatrists to gain the confidence and cooperation of patients who have tripped badly with me. It's not always easy to undo what I've done.
You look a little frightened to us, and we want to help you. One of the things that we'd like you to do before we talk is to take some medication to help you come on down.
Put the pill in your mouth. No, put the pill in your mouth.
But for an increasing number of trippers, this too is true. Because the ultimate destination with me can be, and has been, here in the morgue. LSD user hangs self. LSD user commits suicide. Yes, it's true. And so the last voice heard at the ultimate destination can be, and has been, the autopsy surgeons.
The body is that of a well-developed, well-nourished teenage male appearing the stated age. Rigor mortis is present throughout, and livor is present over the dorsal aspects of the body.
And so I'm depressed. Depressed because I'm so badly misused and abused by those who know so little about me. Good trips with me, profound mind-expanding insights about oneself and one's universe. Yes, for some people, under some conditions, I have been, and I can be, a most awe-inspiring way for exploring inner space. But even they have to understand that I'm unpredictable in what I may do, and that I'm never the sort of thing that one takes lightly or for kicks. Because you see, I can kick back. And I'm embarrassed because so many of the world's oddballs have adopted me as their special gimmick. I'm too powerful, and I'm too important to join these And I'm concerned. I'm really concerned because so many people who get busted for using me are, or were, such really promising kids. But there's no known way to get your fingerprints out of the police files once they're in there. And for the rest of their lives, a lot of people are going to have to answer yes to the question, have you ever been arrested? And that's not much help when it comes to getting a job, or getting into college, or launching a career. But most of all, I'm frightened, because so much remains to be known about me. Why should my hallucinations recur later in an after-flash? And is there any way of preventing them? Will they develop a good, workable test to trace me inside the body, so that coroners and others can tell whether or not I was taken? And if so, how much? Do I damage the brain, or don't I? And if so, how much damage do I cause, and how lasting is it? Here at the Macaulay Institute, they've been studying those who've tripped many times with me. And instruments like the electroencephalograph have indicated brainwave abnormalities. But even while those abnormal tracings tend to improve after my use stops, certain other abnormalities tend to persist, perhaps permanently. And recently, laboratory and clinical tests have indicated that my powerful chemistry can damage human chromosomes, the tiny determiners of heredity. And scientists have begun to link my use to the kind of cell change that can lead to the birth of physically or mentally abnormal children. The answers aren't all in yet, and research continues. Meanwhile, as one authority has suggested, my continual users might donate their brains after death to help scientists clarify matters. Portrait of a traveler about to take a trip, and his trip is just now starting. He's stuck with me now in what we may do together for the next few hours. I'm not vicious by nature, but I'm not harmless either. Remember, I said I was like a depth charge in the mind? Well, the direction and force of my explosion among his 12 billion brain cells is absolutely and totally unpredictable. When you tinker with your brain by altering its natural processes with an unknown dose of an unknown drug, you have to take your chances. But curiously enough, the kind of trip he'll take won't depend upon my chemistry as much as his. Because, you see, it's my real secret that I strip away the layers and layers of ego, the protective security blanket that shelters you all. And I can bring him into the incredible world of his own deep brain dreamscape. Of course, when he actually gets there, he may be terrified by what he sees. But that's his problem, not mine.
So great. Somebody mentioned in the comments, like, oh, well, this doesn't seem so bad, And that's the thing is, I think LSD drug films are really amazing advertisements for LSD. I think that many kids were exposed to the concept of hallucinogens and LSD from these films, and that the dangers were nothing. There was really basically, some kids were like, yeah, that's not going to happen to me. Chromosome damage? I'm not going to have babies. It looks like it's awesome. I'm not going to commit suicide. So, yeah, I think this case study LSD, and there's others, acid, I think, what is it? LSD, Insider Insanity. All of them provide amazing enticements to bored teenagers. And so there you go. And thank you so much. Who was it? Thank you, Burrow Owl, for $5 for a tab of acid. I don't know how much the drug goes for nowadays, but I'm sure it's not $5. And I'm also sure that it's probably just barely LSD. I'm sure that it's cut with all sorts of other things like speed, etc. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in today, and thanks for watching in general. I'm seeing some new faces, seeing new faces. What a weird thing to say. I'm not really seeing your faces. It's not a two-way situation. I'm seeing a lot of new names, people tuning in from other countries, and I love that. That's great. I love. Hopefully you enjoyed what you saw, or at least were intrigued by what you saw. This is what we do every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know what it is in your country, but join us. We'll be back on Monday live watching some more stuff. Also, if you like what you saw, we have been adding hundreds of new films to our YouTube channel. Many of these are from our collection and also from the Prelinger collection, things that we've helped digitize over the last 20 plus years. And this is one way you can support us. Certainly, Burrow Owl contributed via the Super Thanks button, which is very much appreciated. But we have some advertising, of which we get pennies per view. But if you watch other videos, which I think you probably like, of films that we've digitized, that gives us a little bit more change. And that money's going directly towards the storage costs. I mentioned at the top of the show that everything is off-site. So we have 7 storage units. And that is ending up to be probably close to $2,000 that we're paying a month to store films. The idea being that everything, when we get the new space renovated, everything will go back. So your help is just by watching more things on the YouTube channel and also not using ad blockers. I know, which is excruciating. Or if you have YouTube Premium, that's another way to do it. Yes, the advertising is excruciating on there, which is why I subscribe to YouTube Premium, because then I can watch all sorts of things without having to watch ads for medical device lawsuits. So that's one way you can really support us. The other way is just by, hitting the thumbs up, hitting the like, commenting, showing up, telling your friends about what we're doing. Those are all wonderful ways to help us. And, we love doing this. We love collecting these films, digitizing them, and then sharing them with you. And so, doing these things of support help us do it more. We love doing it. We love showing it to you. We love your comments. So you guys have a great weekend. And we will see you on Monday. Take care, everybody. We love you, and we will see you soon. See you next time.